Hey guys, I welcome you all to this session on Python tutorial. So we are trying something new this time. We will have a live session series which will help you to master the super language called as Python. And before we head on with the session, I just like to check with you guys if you guys can hear me and if you guys can see my screen. And if everything is set, we can start off with the session. And in the meanwhile, when you guys confirm, I would just like to inform you that we have launched a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy, where you have access to more than 100 courses with respect to different domains such as data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, and a lot more. And the best part about Great Learning Academy is once you complete the course, you will get a course completion certificate which you can go ahead and add onto your resume or onto your LinkedIn profile, which will be a huge value add to you guys. And also all of these courses have been curated by industry experts who have their masters or PhDs from Ivy League schools such as Stanford and IITs in India. And if everything is proper, let me just see if everything is proper in the chat. Give me a confirmation. I see that everything is clear. You guys can see my screen and you guys can also hear me. That is awesome. And as I always maintain through all of my live sessions, I would want my session to be as interactive as possible. And if you have any questions, any doubts anywhere, you can go ahead and put them up in the chat section. We will take them up. And now that everything is set, let's go ahead and start off with the session. So what exactly is Python? You would have heard of this term called as Python. There's a lot of hype around Python these days, but why is it so famous? So Python is a versatile language which can be used for game development, web development, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and a lot more. And that is why Python programmers are in demand all over the world, and that is also why they get paid a lot. Now, once that is clear, let's understand what exactly is Python. So Python is a cross-platform compatible language. Now what do I mean by that? When I say Python is cross-platform compatible, I basically mean that you can run Python on any operating system. Whether you have Windows, a Mac or a Linux system, irrespective of whatever operating system you have, you can download and run Python. And Python is also a free and open source software. So all you have to do is download Python once and then you can start having fun with it. Python is also an object-oriented programming language. What is an object-oriented programming language? Well, when you look around you, what do you see? You would see a lot of objects, isn't it? The laptop which is there in front of you, it is an object. The phone which is there in your hand, that again is an object. The water bottle which is there beside you, that again is an object. And if you would want to represent all of these real life objects in the programming paradigm, that is when you will need an object-oriented programming language. And the best part about Python is it provides a huge standard library. So whatever your purpose is, Python provides you a library from its hat. If you want to perform data manipulation, Python provides a package for that. If you want to perform data visualization, Python provides a package for that. If you want to perform web development, Python again provides a package for that. So Python is totally awesome, isn't it? Now, once that is clear, we would have to install Python into our systems. So to install Python, we would have to go to this particular site. So python.org/downloads. Let me click on this. And this is the site. And as you see, since Python is a cross-platform compatible language, you can download it for a Windows, Linux or a Mac system. And since I have a Windows system, when I click on this, and this is the latest version of Python, 3.8.5. When I click on this, the download should automatically start. Now, once you download Python, you would need an IDE. What is an IDE? IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So if you have worked with other programming languages such as C, C++ or Java, you would know that. So let's say if you have worked with C or C++, you would have an IDE, you would have worked with an IDE called as Dev C++ or Turbo C++. Similarly, if you have worked with Java, then you would have used an IDE called as Eclipse. So these IDEs help you to write code in a much more smooth way. And that is where PyCharm comes in as an IDE for Python. And to download this, we'd have to go to this site, jetbrains.com/PyCharm. So PyCharm is an IDE which is a product of this brand JetBrains. When you click on download over here, again you would see that you have 3 versions for Windows, Mac and Linux. So you will download that particular version depending on your operating system. And then we have the professional and community version of PyCharm. And since we are doing it only for our development, we can download this community version. And since I already have this in my system, I'll not download this right now. Now we will have another distribution. So PyCharm was an IDE. Now to make our Python code even more smoother, we have something known as Anaconda. So Anaconda is a distribution. Now a distribution, you can consider this to be an entire toolkit. So this will provide you a lot of libraries of Python and also an IDE for Python. So this Anaconda distribution will provide you libraries such as Seaborn, Matplotlib, NumPy, Pandas and so on. You don't have to manually install these libraries if you have Anaconda, because out of all of the tools which are present, these libraries would also be present. And to download Anaconda, you would have to go to this particular site over here. And here, as you see, we will be downloading the individual edition. Then I'll go ahead and click on download button over here. Again, we have the Windows version, the Mac version and the Linux version. And since I have a Windows system, I would go ahead and download this. Now, when we download Anaconda, this will give us a notebook called as Jupyter notebook. So Jupyter is a browser-based interpreter or a browser-based IDE. And with the help of this, we will be writing all of our Python code. So now that we know what exactly is Python, we have installed Python and we also have the Python IDE with us, we can go ahead with our Python programming. So we have set our base right now. Now let me go ahead and see if we have any questions in the chat. PVV Stories is asking, can I read your chat? Yes, absolutely. Joke is asking, do we need to install both Anaconda and PyCharm? Not really. I have just shown you these 2 IDEs because you can download either of them. And if you ask me personally, I would prefer Jupyter Notebook because Jupyter is the most widely used IDE when it comes to any of the data science or machine learning applications with respect to Python. So keep your questions coming in the chat. I'll take most of them. Sonika is saying, love from Himachal. Glad to hear that, Sonika. I hope you're enjoying the session and I hope you find our sessions insightful. TVV Stories is saying, love from Bangladesh. That's awesome. It's good to know that people from other countries also love great learning and appreciate our content. So guys, if you're liking this video, if you like our content, go ahead and also press the like button, as it will encourage us to come up with more such live sessions on a regular basis. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, you can hit the subscribe button and also click on the bell icon, as you'll also be notified of the future live sessions which we conduct. Chandan is asking, what is the meaning of IDE? So IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So if you have worked with other programming languages, you will know what is an IDE. Now just installing a programming language is different. So if you just install Python, you will get a blank command prompt. And working with that blank command prompt is actually a bit difficult. So to make the interface much more easy, we have a lot of integrated development environments which make the coding flow a lot more smooth. So one such IDE is known as the Jupyter Notebook, and this is the most widely used IDE when it comes to data science or machine learning applications. Anil is asking, what is Eclipse? So Eclipse is an IDE for Java. It is the most widely used IDE for Java. Richa is asking which IDE will I be using as part of the training. I'll be using Jupyter Notebook. So if you want to follow this live session series properly, I would advise you guys to download Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook so that you can follow whatever I'm teaching. Hamda Essex is asking, is Anaconda only for standard libraries? Yes. So if you install Anaconda, you'll have all of your standard libraries pre-installed. But let's say if you'd have to maybe install a library such as OpenCV, then you'd have to install it by yourself. Sudesh is asking how many sessions a week and the time. So Sudesh will have 2 sessions per week, and these 2 sessions you can find out when the session will be held on Great Learning Academy, and these sessions will be held at 5 p.m. so that you can follow us properly. Great. So now that we have installed Jupyter Notebook into our system, let's go ahead and start working with it. So now, to start working with Anaconda, you would have to write Anaconda prompt. And here, as you see, this is what I have. When I click on this, now this is your Anaconda environment. To open up Jupyter Notebook, you would have to write Jupyter Notebook, and here you have to keep in mind that this is Jupyter and not Jupyter. So you'll write down Jupyter, you'll give in space, and then you'll write down Notebook over here. Now, when I hit on enter, this is what we'll get. This is the home page of Jupyter Notebook, and if you want to open a new notebook, click on new over here, click on Python 3, and you would have successfully opened your first Jupyter Notebook, and this is where you will be writing all of your Python code. And now, if you want to save a file, click on file over here, then you have the save as option, and that is how you can save this. You can also change the name of this notebook. So here I will give the name of this as Python Live Series, and I have renamed this. Now if you want to download this, go to file, select download as, then you have the .ipynb over here. So whenever we are working with Jupyter Notebooks, we will download it as a .ipynb file. And as you see, when I've selected, we have successfully downloaded this. So these are some basics, and this what you see is known as a cell in Jupyter Notebook, and this is where you will be writing all of your code. Now let me just write 3 plus 4 over here, and when I hit on run, you see that we have successfully executed our first Python line of code. Now this is just very simple. All we've done is 3 plus 4, and as we go ahead, we'll be learning a lot more complicated things. And these are the basics. Now that we know about this, let's head back and start learning Python comprehensively. So we have installed all of these, and after installing them, now whenever you're working with any programming language, the first question which needs to come up in your head is, how do we deal with data? Because what you're doing with any programming languages, you're just working on data, isn't it? Now if you're working with data, you would have to store this data somewhere. So let's say you have names of some students such as John, Sam and Matt, and you would want to store these names somewhere. So what do? Python provides something known as an variable, and this is where you can go ahead and store the data. So what is a variable? It is a temporary storage space where you can store values. So here, as you see, I am storing this value John inside this variable, and the variable has a name and the variable has an address. So the name which I've given this variable is student, and the address which I've given this variable is this. Now this address is randomly assigned by the Python interpreter. This is not in our hands. We can only assign the name for this variable. And now, as I've told you, a variable is a temporary storage space, which would mean that you can change the values which are stored in a variable. So I will start off by storing this value of John in this student variable. After some time, I would decide to remove this variable John and store this value of Sam inside this variable. Then again, after some time, I would decide to remove Sam and replace it with the value of Matt inside this variable. And this is how we can create variables in Python. So let me demonstrate this in Jupyter Notebook. So I will create a variable called as student, and inside this I will store the value mat. Now if I have to print this out, all I have to do is just write down student, and you would see that I have successfully printed this out. Now since this is a temporary storage space, I can change the value which is stored in this. So instead of mat, I will have the value Sam inside this. Now when I now when I print out student, you would see that sorry for that. Now when I print out student, you would see that I have replaced the value of Matt with Sam. After some time, again I would want to replace this value. So instead of Sam, I will have the value Bob over here, and then I will print out student again, and you would see that I have successfully changed the values which are present over here. So this is how you can create variables in Python. Let me go back and check some of your questions. Karen is saying to make Android development using Python. Sure. So as of now, we don't have any content on it. We'll keep that in mind and we'll definitely come upon that. And guys, please don't spam in the chat section, as I'll not be able to find out questions by everyone. Bharanidharan is asking if you could zoom the screen. Sure, I would do that. So is this fine? Can everyone clearly see my screen? If you could just respond, that'll be great. I'm just going through your questions right now. Samuel is saying he's from Ethiopia and he's eager to learn programming. That's great to hear, Samuel. And we hope that you thoroughly enjoy this session and you find this session to be insightful. And also we would like to reach more people throughout the world, so you could spread the word of mouth about these live sessions, about great learning. That'll be very helpful to us, as we aim to provide the best quality education for free to everyone around the world. Great. Sarvesh is saying if everything is done in Excel, why is Python used? That's a very good question, Sarvesh. Now there are some things where Excel is lacking. So let's say if you want to perform most of the data manipulation or data visualization operations, then it is sort of very time consuming in Excel, and these operations you can perform with Python. And also Python is versatile. With the help of Python, you can create web applications. Obviously, you can't create a web application with Excel. Similarly, you can implement machine learning operations with Python, and that is something you can make simple machine learning algorithms or the basic ones, but creating a complex machine learning algorithm with Excel will be very, very difficult. So considering that, Python is a much better tool when compared with Excel. So I hope that answers your question. Hitesh is asking how many days are you live? So this Python live series will be held 2 times every week at 5 p.m. And if you want to know the exact dates, you can check that out on Great Learning Academy. Deepak is asking in Jupyter to print, is there no particular statement like S out? No. All you have to do is given the name of the variable, you will be able to print it out. Gautam is asking, will these sessions be covering Python for data analytics? Absolutely. So again, you could go to Great Learning Academy and check out what is the entire course syllabus. So we'll start off with Python fundamentals. Then we'll learn about flow control statements and object-oriented programming in Python. After that, we'll work with libraries such as NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib, which will be extremely useful for data mining. And the last 2 weeks will be case studies. So we'll do a live case study using whatever we've learned in the previous sessions. Great. So now that we have created a variable, Well, see, what else can we do? Now, every variable that you create in Python is associated with a data type. Now, what is a data type? It indicates what sort of value are you storing in a variable. So, if you're working with numbers such as 10, 500, minus 3000 and so on, these are integer type variables. If you're working with decimal point numbers such as 3.14, 15.97, minus 8.92, these would be floating point numbers. Then if you're working with Boolean values, so you have only two Boolean values which are true and false. So if you're working with true or false or 0 and 1, then it will be a Boolean value. Then we have strings where you have something inside a single quote, double quote or triple quote, that will be called as a string. So we have created a variable. Now let's go ahead and assign different data types to a particular variable. So what I'll do is I'll create a variable called as A1 over here, and I will store the value of 10 inside this. Let me print out A1 for you guys. And this is the value which we have stored over here. Now let me also check the type of this. We have this type method. So inside type, I will pass in the variable. You would see that we have created an integer type variable. Similarly, I'll go ahead and change the value. This time I will store a decimal point number. So I am storing 3.14 in A1. Then let me print out A1. Now let me also check the type of this. Type of A1. You would see that I have created a floating point object or a floating point variable. Now we will go ahead and store a Boolean value. I'll store the value of true over here. And then let me print out A1. And this is what we have. And let me also check the type of this again. And you would see that this is of Boolean type. Now, again, I will go ahead and maybe store a complex value over here. So in your primary school or in your high school, you would have learned about complex numbers. So complex numbers are where you have a real part and an imaginary part. In mathematics, if you encounter terms such as 3 plus 4i or 5 minus 7i, that is a complex number where this is the real part and this is the imaginary part. And this I in mathematics is represented as j in Python. So let me print out A1 for you guys and let me check the type of this. Type of A1. You would see that this is a complex data type. So this is about data types. Now we'll see about operators in Python. So we have three types of operators, which are arithmetic operators, relational operators, and logical operators. Now operators help you to perform different type of operations on the data. So these are very easy. I'll just write down a comment. And what is a comment in Python? Comment is something which is not executed by the Python interpreter. So I'll just write down operators over here. And we will start with arithmetic operators. And we will be having these arithmetic operators. So we'll have plus, minus, division, and multiplication. And what we'll do is we will create two variables over here. I will store the value of 10 in A and I will store the value of 20 in B. And I create these two variables. Now let me just perform these basic arithmetic operations. So if I have to add two numbers, all I have to do is A plus B. You would see that 10 plus 20 is 30. Then if I have A minus B, you would see that the value is equal to minus 10. Similarly, if I perform A divided by B, we'll get the value 0.5. And after this, if I have A star B, which is multiplying two values, you would see that the value is equal to 200. These are arithmetic operators. Then we'll work with relational operators. And what are relational operators? You have less than, greater than, double equal to, and not equal to. So these are the different types of relational operators. Now, after we do this, what we'll do is I would want to find out the relationship between two variables. So if I want to check if the value of A is less than the value of B, I will use this less than operator. I will get true because 10 is less than 20. Similarly, now if I check if A is greater than B, I will get a false because 20 is not greater than 10. And I will use this not equal to. Not equal to, we can give this by exclamation mark, then the equal to symbol. So here, you would see that I get a true result because 10 is not equal to 20. Then again, if we put in the equal to operator over here, we get a false result because 10 is not equal to 20. These are the different relational operators. And after this, we will have the logical operators, which we only have two. So we will have the OR operator, we will have the AND operator. Let's start off with the AND operator. This AND operator will give us a true result when both of the operands are true. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's understand this by actually implementing it. So this time I will store two Boolean values. I am storing the value of true in this variable A. Then I am storing the value of false in this variable B. Now, after I do this, let me start off by working with this AND operator. As I've told you, you will get a true result when both of the operands are true, else we will get a false. So I will start off by A and B, which would mean true and false. We'll get a false result. Then let me change this to B and A. I'll again get a false result. And when I have B and B, I will again have a false result. It's only when I have A and A, which is true and true. This is the only case where I'll be getting a true result with the AND operator. Now, coming to the OR operator, we will get a true result when either of the operands is true. So, this time what I'll do is, I will start off with A or A. I'll absolutely get a true result because true or true is true. Then I will have A or B. I'll get a true result again because true or false is true. Then I will have B or A. And this time again I'll get a true result because false or true is also true. And the only case where I'll be getting a false is when I have B or B. So false or false is the only case when the final result will be equal to false. And these are the different types of operators in Python. So now it's time to head back to the chat section and see if there are any questions. Shreyas is asking what time it will take to learn Python if I spend 2 hours daily. I would say maybe around 2 weeks should be enough for you to completely learn Python. Hitesh is asking what are tokens and identifiers. We'll cover that. We'll cover that. Just give me a couple of minutes. Red Bull is asking, can you tell about self? Sure, and we'll cover that when we are doing the session on object-oriented programming. Since this is a live session series, I can only go in sequence, and today's session is about Python fundamentals, and that is what we'll be covering in today's session. Gagan Bihari Mohanta is asking, is there no syntax? Could you elaborate where exactly are you asking this? I'm just going through your questions. Kaibalya Raut is asking, can I store true as a string? Yes, absolutely you can do that. Let me just show you. If you give, so I'll have maybe a variable called as ABC. You can store it as a string. This will not be a problem at all. When you print out ABC, this is the result which you'll get. So whatever you give inside single quotes, double quotes or triple quote, it will be treated as a string. You can give in all of the keywords over here. Let's say if I give in self, then even this is a string. If I give in maybe if, this again will be a string. So whatever you give inside single quotes, double quotes or triple quotes will be treated as a string. Sarvesh is saying right, wrong is boolean or not. Yes, so basically when it comes to boolean you only have two values, yes, no, 0, 1, true, false, right, wrong. Mrityunjoy Roy is asking anything related with ML with Python will be taught. Yes, absolutely. As I've told you, this is a live series. We will be covering everything and everything will be done in a sequence. Deepak is asking what is the difference between R and Python, as both are used for machine learning and data science. Again, a very good question and a very commonly asked question. I would say R is helpful when it comes to data wrangling and statistical analysis. So R is a language which is developed by statisticians for statisticians. So if you want to perform any sort of statistical analysis, or if you want to perform data wrangling, or if you want to implement beautiful graphs, then people mostly prefer R. And where Python comes in is mostly with respect to web development, with respect to machine learning, with respect to deep learning. So both of them have their own use cases, and in the industry both of them are equally used. And this is not a case of Python versus R. I would suggest you guys that you would have to learn both Python and R because both of them are very similar. So it is a case of Python and R. So in the industry, normally, let's say if you're working on a project with Python for 6 months, then most probably for the next 6 months, the next project will be on R. So Python and R, both of them are equally used in the industry. Saurabh Kishore is asking, tell about the frequency of Python live class. We'll have this 2 times in a week, and it'll be at 5 p.m. If you want to check the exact schedule of it, you can go ahead and check that out on Great Learning Academy. RS Pandit is asking, is Python case sensitive? Yes, Python is case sensitive. Great. So again guys, I see an attendance of 274. We've got only 186 likes. So quickly, if you could just go ahead and hit that like button, that will encourage us a lot as we put in a lot of effort to bring out these tutorials for you guys. And also, if you haven't hit subscribed or clicked on the bell icon, please go ahead and do that, because you'll be notified whenever we come up with new sessions. And also, you'll get to know when we are uploading the full courses. So we have created these operators. Now, let's go ahead and understand tokens. So someone had asked what are tokens and identifiers, and that is what we'll be learning now. So a token is the smallest meaningful component in a program. So there's a saying in Hindi which is "Boond boond se pani banta hai," or every droplet is what creates an ocean. Now, these meaningful components are tokens, and when you combine all of these tokens together, that is when you will get a complete Python program. And some of these tokens are keywords, identifiers, literals, and operators. So we will start off by keywords. So a keyword is a special reserved word in Python which cannot be used for anything else. So if you have keywords such as false, class, finally, if, for, while, and so on, now you cannot assign these as values to a variable. And if this is confusing, let me go to Jupyter Notebook again and I will show you how this is done. Let's say if I have a variable called as x, and if I try to store this keyword true inside this. So true is a keyword, and I'm trying to store this in this variable x. Sorry, this is a keyword. I can't give this as a name of a variable. So what I'll do is, in true, I am trying to store a value of 10. Now I will get an error because I can't assign anything to a keyword. Similarly, let's say instead of true, if I have if, I again get an error because this is invalid syntax. Similarly, if I use def, again I get an error. This is because you can't use keywords. So you can't assign values to keywords. This is an essential note which you have to make. So now that we know what are keywords, next token up is an identifier. And identifiers are just the names which you give to different variables, functions, or objects. And as someone had asked, the variables or objects in Python are case sensitive, and the other two are just some basic rules. These are not mandatory. So you can actually create a variable with a digit and you can have an underscore, but it is by convention you don't have them. Let me actually check it out. So what I'll do is I will create a variable called as a1, and inside this I will store the value of 10. Then I will create a variable a1 with a capital, and inside this I will store the value 20. Now when I print out a1, you will see that this is the value, and when I print out a1 with a capital A, you would see that 20 is the value. So Python is case sensitive, and whatever value you are basically giving to a variable or a function or an object, that is what is known as an identifier. Then we have literals. Literals are just the values which you store. Now, over here, when you are storing the value of 20 in A1, here 20 is a literal. Similarly, when you are storing the value of 10 in A1, 10 again is a literal. Let me go up over here. Here, as you see, when I'm storing the value of 3 plus 4j into A1, 3 plus 4j is a literal. So the values, the constant values which you store in a variable, those are what are known as literals. Then we have strings. So we have looked at all of the tokens over here. Operators we already looked at. So we've understood all of these different 4 tokens. Now we'll go ahead and start off with strings. And as I've told you, a string is something which can be created with single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. And as you see, here I am creating the string with single quotes, here I am creating the string with double quotes, and here I am creating the string with triple quotes. And if you want to create a multi-line string, then you will use triple quotes. Let me head back. And here, what I'll do is I will go ahead and create a string called as str1, and inside this I will store a value of, let's say, I'll just have ABC. Let me print out str1 for you guys, and let me check the type of this, and inside this I will pass in str1. You would see that this is a string object. So I've created a string with double quotes. Similarly, I can create a string with single quotes. I'll just give in single quotes over here. I will write down Sparta. Let me print out str2. And if I check the type of this, type of str2, you would see that this again is a string. Now I will create a multi-line string using triple quotes. So here, as you see, I have given triple quotes, and I will write down this is Sparta. And let me print out str3 for you guys. Now here, as you see, we have for /n. This /n means a new line. So in the new line we have this. After this we have a new line again. Then we have s. After s we have a new line again. Then we have Sparta. So this is how we are creating a multi-line string. Now after creating a multi-line string, we'll actually see how to extract individual characters from a string. So here what we're doing is we are creating a string with the value my name is John, and I'm storing it in this variable called as my string. And if I would want to extract the first character from this entire string, I'd given the name of the string. In the parenthesis, I will given the index value, which is 0. And as you see, I am extracting the first character, which is M. And in Python, you'd have to keep in mind that the indexing starts from 0. So this character M is present at index 0. This character Y is present at index 1. The space also has the space over here, which you see, this also has an index. This is present at index number 2. This is present at index number 3, and that is how we proceed. So we have extracted the first character. Similarly, if I would want to extract the last character, then in that case I would have to give in -1. So when I give in -1, you would see that I have extracted the last character from here. So these are some basics of strings, of how we can extract. So I will just go ahead and create this string called as my string, and I will go ahead and write down Joey loves pizza. Let me go ahead and print this out for you guys. So we have created the string, and if I would want to extract the first character, I'll just have my string over here. In the parenthesis, I'll give down 0, and you would see that I have extracted the first character. And if I would want to extract the last character, I will give -1. You would see that I have extracted the letter A from this entire string. So here we can either extract the values from the beginning or from backwards. So when it comes to backwards, the indexing starts like this. So here the index will be -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. So I hope that is clear. So now that we've done this, I'll head back to the chat and see if there are more questions. Rajan is asking, if we follow this course completely, then can we learn Python totally? Yes, absolutely. This live session series is it's curated in such a way that we are covering everything. In today's session, we'll learn all of the fundamentals of Python. And the next session, we'll learn about the different data structures, the different flow control statements and functions in Python. Then we will learn about object-oriented programming. After that, we will learn about visualization, manipulation, and also about numerical computing with NumPy. So rest assured, if you watch all of these tutorials, all of these live sessions completely with full dedication, you will definitely be able to learn everything with respect to Python. So you'll be a hero from zero if you follow all of these classes. Ranjit is asking, Python has many compilers. Can you let us know which is better and easier? So as I've told you guys, personally, I would prefer Jupyter Notebook because it's a web-based interpreter and it's easier to share the code with other folks. And also it is the most widely used interpreter when it comes to data science and machine learning. Banit Yadav is asking, how much time should I invest for learning data science? So I'd say there's no particular answer for this because data science is an ever expanding field. So if you want to get with the basics of data science, I'd say maybe around a couple of months, but you'll not be an expert in data science. So even data scientists with 10 plus years of experience, even they keep constantly learning because every single day you have new things coming up. You have new algorithms coming up, you have new tools coming up, you have new libraries coming up, and there are a lot of different types of problems to solve. So I'd say you cannot perfectly learn data science, but maybe in a span of 2 months, you'll be able to learn the basics of, or the basic concepts of data science. What is happening over there? That is something you can learn in a span of 2 months. Kaibalya Raut is asking, can we run Jupyter code in other IDE? Absolutely. The Python code will be the same irrespective of whatever IDE you're using. Rahul is saying, can you share more problem statements for better practices? Absolutely. And also we have other live sessions as well where we do a lot of different stuff. Shubha is asking, can I use 4 quotes for string? No, 4 quotes cannot be used. You have single quotes, double quotes, and triple quotes. Khalid is saying you're not answering everyone. I apologize if I haven't looked at your chat because there are a lot of chats coming up and I can only answer a few people. So, and also I'd request other folks to not spam because if other people are spamming, I'll not be able to read all of the questions. So moderators, please ensure that no one is spamming. Sarfaraz Khan is asking, which skill is more marketable to start off with, Python or R? So if you're asking about which skill is more marketable, then the answer would be Python, because Python, as I've told you, is the hottest language right now, and it is used in a lot of industries. So whether it is a fintech industry, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is e-learning, whether it is pharmaceutical, all of the industries have an application of Python. So if you are skilled at Python and if you get certified in Python, I'm pretty sure that your resume will look pretty good. Hitesh is saying his Jupyter is not working. You could let us know the problem in the comment section later on, because I can't help you with installation process right now because we have a lot of things to cover. Chetan is asking, can you explain about slicing? Sure, we will cover that, and we'll cover that comprehensively when we're working with different data structures. Great, so I've answered some of your questions. I'll head back to the Q&A later. And again guys, if you haven't yet clicked on the like button, go ahead and do that. So all you have to do is, if you're watching on a phone, take your hand, put on the like button, that's it. And if you're watching on a laptop, take your mouse and click the like button as It will help us a lot. It will encourage us a lot to provide you with more such quality stuff. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel or clicked on the bell icon, please go ahead and do that, as you'll be notified with our new courses. And again, it will show us your love. It will show us that you are liking what we are teaching and you would want to know more. So now that is done, what we'll do is we will go ahead and look at different stuff. So we have extracted characters from here. Now after extracting characters, what we'll do is we will look at different string methods. So we have len method, lower method, and upper method. So if we would want to check the length of a string, I will just use len, and inside this I will pass in the string which I've created. And here, as you see, we have all of this over here, and it would tell us that there are 15 characters present in the string. Now similarly, if I would want to convert my string, if I would want to convert all of the characters in the string into lowercase, I can use the lower method. And here, as you see, M is capital and J is capital. Now after using the lower method, you would see that all of the characters are in lowercase. Then we have the upper method, with the help of which we can convert all of the characters into uppercase. Here, as you see, all of the characters are in uppercase. So we already have my string over here. Let me start off by checking the length of this. So in len, I will go ahead and pass my string. You would see that the length of this is 16. Let me just verify this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And we see that there are 16 characters which are present in this particular string. Now here you would see that J is capital. Let me also make L to be capital over here and P to be capital over here again. Now what I'll do is I will try to convert all of these into lowercase. So I will have my string dot lower, and here, as you see, all of the characters have been converted to lowercase. Similarly, we have the uppercase method. So I will use my string dot upper, and you would see that I have converted all of the characters into uppercase. And then we have two more methods. Now let's say if I would want to replace a string with some particular value, then we have the replace method. So initially in this particular string over here, the entire string was my name is John. Here, with the help of this replace method, I am replacing Y with A, and the string becomes my name is John. And as you see, there are two parameters. The first parameter is the substring or the character which I'd want to replace. And the second parameter is what I would want to replace this with. And as you see, initially we had my name is John. We have replaced this to my name is John. Then we have the count method, which would help us to find out the number of occurrences of a particular substring. Here, as you see, I have this string called as hello hello world. And if I would want to find out the number of times the substring hello is occurring, so I'll just have new string dot count. Inside this, I will pass in the substring, and we get the result that this substring is occurring 2 times. So let's go ahead and work with the replace method and the count method. And here I have Joey loves pizza. Now instead of Joey loves pizza, what I'll do is I will use the replace method, and instead of Joey, maybe I'd give Chandler. So I have Chandler loves pizza over here. So as you see, initially the string was Joey loves pizza, but with the help of the replace method, we were able to change Joey loves pizza to Chandler loves pizza. Then we have the count method. So in the same string over here, let me print my string back for you guys. Now in this, if I would want to know how many times the character Z is occurring, I will use my string dot count, and I will pass in Z over here, and you would see that Z is occurring 2 times. Similarly, if I would want to know the number of times character A is coming, so A is coming only 1 time. So these are 2 methods. Then again we have 2 more methods, which are find and split. With the help of the find method, we can find out the starting value of a particular index. So here, if I have this entire string, this is Sparta, and if I would want to know the index of the first letter of the substring. So here I have Sparta, and I would want to know the index of this first letter, which is S. So here, as you see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So here this would tell us that S is present at index number 8. Then we have the split method, which would help us to split a string into multiple substrings, into a list of substrings, and we would have to give a split criterion over here. Here, as you see, in the entire string I like apples, mangoes, and bananas, and I would want to split this with the help of a comma. And as you see, when I give in comma over here, fruit.split comma, you would see that everything which is there on the left side of the comma becomes one substring. So I like apples is the first substring, mangoes is the second substring, bananas is the third substring. Let's head back to Jupyter Notebook. Let's work with these two. So we have the find method. Now let me print out my string again for you guys over here. And once I print this out, what we have over here is, let's say if I would, what were we doing? We were trying to find out the starting index. So let's say if I would want to find out what is the starting index of pizza over here. So I will have my string dot find, and inside this I'll just pass in pizza. You would see that the starting index is 11. Let's just verify this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Then after the find method, we have the split method. And what I'll do is I'll create a new string. I'll call it maybe str5. And I will write down maybe different languages. I'll have Java, Python, R, C++, Julia. So I have created this new string, and now I would want to split each of these on the basis of this hyphen, or in other words, I would want the names of these different languages as a list of substrings. So I can go ahead and just write down str5.split, and here the split criteria will be hyphen. And here, as you see, I have the list of the substrings. So Java, Python, R, C++, and Julia are the substrings which I have extracted from this entire string. Now let me head back to the chat. Prinshu is asking, does split only work with comma? No. So as you see over here, I have given a hyphen over here, and with the help of hyphen, I have split these two objects. Harsh is asking, what is the meaning of Sparta? Well, Sparta, it's from the movie 300. I'm a big fan of the movie 300 and the Spartans. So if you haven't watched the movie, I'll say go ahead and watch the movie because I absolutely loved it. And that is where, I picked up the Sparta, and I tend to write down Sparta a lot in my Python coding sessions. I'm pretty sure if you watch the movie, even you'll be addicted to the phrase, this is Sparta. I'm just going through your questions, guys. Vivek is asking, does replace method replace all the instances of a substring from a string? Let's actually check that out. So where do we have the replace method? So here, what I'll do is, I have Z over here. So here the string is Joey loves pizza, and instead of Z, maybe I will give in L. And here, as you see, it would replace all of the occurrences. So if I have Z occurring twice, it will replace Z 2 times with L. So initially we had Joey loves pizza. Now if I have replaced it with L, you have Joey loves Pilla. This is interesting over here. Sajan is saying lots of love from Nepal, Kathmandu. Thank you very much, Sajan. And as I've told you, it's very endearing to know that we have people who follow great learning from other countries as well. And also it lets us know that our content is appreciated by people all around the world. And Sajan, I would have a request from my side. So I'd request you to share our content among your peers, friends, and colleagues so that everyone can learn from high quality content and everyone can upskill themselves during this lockdown. Prinshu is asking, are libraries like NumPy, Matplotlib are included in this session? Not in today's live, but since this is a series, so further down the series, all of these will be included. So as I've told you, if you would want to know what is the schedule of it, go to Great Learning Academy. That is where you will know what I'll be covering in each session. So in the next session, we'll be mostly covering data structures and flow control statements. And after that, we'll have object-oriented programming. After object-oriented programming, we'll have a session on NumPy and Pandas. And after that, we will have a session on data visualization. So that is the sequence. Manas Tandon is asking, are there inbuilt functions or any library? So all of these which we are using are inbuilt functions in Python are in there. So this find method, split method, count method, replace method, all of these are inbuilt functions in Python. Sanjay is asking, for the OR logical operator, what symbol are you using? So this is the pipe operator. So this, what you see, this mostly you will find at the right side, right end of your laptop or your computer on the keyboard, right? This is the pipe operator which is given for OR. Abhi is asking, do we need to import anything to work with string related functions? No. All of these methods are already existing, so you don't have to import anything to work with these different methods which are there. Vishal is saying Binod OP, absolutely. Binod OP, big fan of him. Great. So now that we have done this, let's see what else are we left with. So we are done with all of the basic fundamentals today. So in the next session, we'll be starting off with the data structures, which are tuple, list, dictionary, and set. So till now, what we were doing is we were working with variables and data types where we were able to store only one single value. But if we want to store multiple values, then we would need these data structures called as tuple, list, dictionary, and set, and we'll comprehensively learn about them. Patnam Gautam is asking, will there be any doubts clearing session? Yes, after the first 4 weeks, we will have a complete Q&A session where for 1 hour, I'll only be taking up your questions. So you can check the schedule again on Great Learning Academy. So after the first 4 weeks, we will have a complete 1 hour session, which will be completely Q&A, where you can ask me questions related to what we have learned in the past 4 sessions. Nikhil is asking, can we use Python to implement blockchain technology? Not really. Blockchain has its own languages, so Python is not really used to work with blockchain. Prinshu, I've answered your question if we can use other parameters inside the split method except comma. Python enthusiast is saying data structures and algorithms with Python soon. Sure. So after this live session, we'll take that up. So this live session series will be for 8 weeks, and that's 2 months. So after these 2 months, we will have a live session series on DS and Algo with Python. thank you for giving us the suggestion. We were actually thinking of coming up with that, and now that we see people actually want to do that, we'll definitely come up with a session on it. Naveen is asking, can we use Python for machine learning? Absolutely, and Python is the most widely used language and the most popular language when it comes to machine learning. So in the industry, for most of the projects, it is Python which is widely used to implement most of the machine learning concepts. Anup is asking, will Julia replace Python? The answer is no, at least not for the next 10 years for sure. And right now, let's just say it's Python's time. So abhi Julia ka time nahi hai, abhi Python ka time hai. So if you are good at Python, well, let's just say your career is set for the next 10 years for sure. And right now, Python, if you're skilled at it, you will be extremely in demand. You will be paid a lot. When is the next session? So the next session will be on Friday at 5 p.m. Harsh Gautam is saying, please make a video on DSA, please. Absolutely, we will do that. Great. So I believe I've taken up most of your questions, and we will, if I missed out on any of your questions, I would apologize because there are a lot of questions and I can only take so many. And we will be covering the next topics, which is tuple, list, dictionary, and set in the next live session. And if you have any questions, you can keep them coming in the next live session. So if you haven't yet registered for the next live session, maybe someone from the moderators team can put up the link over here and you can register for the next live session as well, so that you guys are notified about the next live session, which is on Friday at 5 p.m. And also, if you have any friends or colleagues who would want to get started with Python, let them know that we have this live Python series where they will comprehensively learn everything about Python. And since this is an interactive session, they can put up their questions in the chat and I will take most of your questions up. Great. And for the last time, before signing off, if you haven't yet clicked on the like button, please go ahead and hit the like button, as we put in a lot of effort from our side. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel or clicked on the bell icon, please also go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, as it will encourage us to come up with more such live sessions on a regular basis. So thank you very much, guys, and let's meet up